Ask Mike, brought to you by the Stadium Shop on Razorback in Fayetteville.
Happy Monday, everybody. And it is a good Monday, Mike, because Arkansas lives to see another day in the NCAA tournament.
I have to confess, and you know this.
I know.
When on a little over a week ago Sunday, when the pairings were announced, what did I say?
You said it's going to be real tough for them to get to.
I didn't think they could win both of those games. They could beat Illinois, but they had no history of this season of being able to pull off two games like that, and I didn't think it would happen. So it was wrong.
You were wrong, Mike. Well, hopefully you're wrong some more, and they can keep this run going, right?
Sure.
Obviously, you guys are watching Ask Mike with Courtney Mims and Mike Irwin. Let's jump right in because we have a lot of questions about basketball this week as well, Mike, right?
Yep.
Perfect. Our first question this week is from Eddie Lynn, who asked, what was the CBS courtside reporter referring to when she said to Devo after the game that Musselman had challenged him and put him out of his comfort zone? Clearly, it triggered some deep emotions. Why?
Well, we're going to have to speculate a little bit because nobody said this directly, but you go back and you look at some things that happened and then what she said, which she clearly had some inside information. So here's what I'm pretty sure happened. If you go back to the Maui Classic and the San Diego State game, a lot of fans saw that and remember that Arkansas came back and won in overtime, and there was a lot of emotion after that game. And you're sitting at home, they're out in Hawaii, you seeing this stuff, and they're all excited and they're running around, and in the background you can see the guys over by the bench. And who's not looking happy?
Devo.
Devo doesn't look happy, and we're all like, what's wrong with him? So they come back to Arkansas, and right off the bat, Musselman announced that Devo is taking time away from basketball to deal with some issues. That turned out to be like, what, one game or just a brief
it was
period,
like one game.
Brief period of time. So, you know, we heard rumors at the time that you could sort of see something had happened in that San Diego State game when he took him out late and then he didn't get back in the game. And we were all speculating it had something to do with the game. But then there were other things that you heard. But the point was we were hearing that they kind of tangled about something. And then he came back and there was no more evidence of this and nothing else said. And it sort of just went away.
Yeah.
But you still got that tucked away in your head. Then when I hear her, the CBS courtside reporter, what's her name?
Allie LaForce.
Okay, because you're good with names. And
I am good with names, yeah.
And so when she made that reference to him being challenged and being out of his comfort zone, I'm going, that's what that was. So then what was interesting was what happened when because let's preface this by saying that Musselman was on first after the game. And then Devo came up and Muss grabbed Devo and said, I love this guy, he could be my son. He could be my son. Or he's like my son or something like that. And Devo was all emotional. But then when he left, Muss left, and she asked him what she did, he couldn't talk. Yeah. He tried to answer and he couldn't, and then he leaned down and put his hands on his knees and his head went down, and he came back up and she said, why are you so emotional over this? And he still didn't give the real answer. He just kind of said, we had problems and we had to solve our problems, and we did. And hopefully we will have them solved from here on out. But then you know what actually happened, which was, and this happens in sports all the time, a coach chews a guy out. The guy's like, what are you talking about? Why are you blaming this all on me? I'm just one guy on the team. What's the deal here? And then you realize all this time later, wow, he was right about that. Now, here's the way I look at this, because I didn't notice Devo doing a lot of leadership stuff during the season. I mean, he played well sometimes, he didn't. It's typical Devo.
Called some timeouts in crucial situations.
He did do that. So maybe that was a sign of some of that.
Some of it.
But the way I look at it is, it wasn't that he was waiting to be the leader. It was that the leader or the moment was waiting for him. It was like fate. Because we're sitting there watching that game, and I had no sense that these guys could win. They'd been down 11, 9, 11, just went back and forth. They never could get back close enough, and I'm thinking time's going to run out on them. 16 minutes left, Devo makes a layup, no big deal, goes to 9. And then all of a sudden he starts scoring, and he keeps scoring. And over that 12, 13-minute period till around, what, a minute 40 left or whatever.
Yeah.
He scores 19 points and totally brings them back. And then he fouls out, and I'm thinking, uh-oh, the spark is gone. But what I wasn't really paying attention to at the time was it wasn't just him doing this, because, yeah, he was doing this, but everyone else started. Ricky Council IV started to step up. Jordan Walsh started to step up. And you and I were out here on the set because we were in the newscast, and we're
watching the game.
We got this monitor over in the corner of the studio, and we can sort of see what's going on, but not really. And I didn't see Kamani Johnson do what he did, which was a crucial rebound of a missed shot and layup when the game was tied that put Arkansas up by 2, and they never trailed after. That was 51 seconds, something like that, and they never trailed after that. Biggest shot of the game. And he did that with Devo on the bench. So to me, this is what leadership is. I not only did what I needed to do, but I provided the leadership that allowed you guys to keep doing that after I went to the bench. And this is the thing that's been the problem with this team all year long, is people are saying, hey, Muss can't coach these guys. It's not that he can't coach these guys. I disagreed with these people over and over again, argued with them on the internet. I think he knew exactly what he was doing. I think he knew what was going on back in December after he'd seen these guys for a few games, and I think he knew, yeah, I got these 3 5-stars, and I've got these portal transfers. I need a leader. I need a leader that's been there, done that, that's an upperclassman on this team, and Devo, you're it. And he bugged him about it and bugged him about it and bugged him about it, and it worked. He knew it took a while, but it worked at the biggest moment of the season. Now, here's what's interesting. Because now everybody's seeing this after the game, and they're seeing this emotion from Devo. And in those moments when he was on camera, he went from being one of these guys, because I've done this for, this is like, what, 40, 48, near the end of my 48th year covering this. I've seen a lot of fans will come up to me and go, hey, remember that guy? And they'll name some player from 10 years ago, 5, 20 years ago. Remember that guy? Yeah, I remember him. Well, wasn't he good? Yeah, he was, blah, blah. There's a lot of guys like that, and women on the women's side. There's a lot of athletes like that. And you remember them sort of, and you don't completely forget them, but you're just part of the group. Devo, in that moment, went up. He's now up there with D-Mac.
Yep.
And Sydney, and those 2 guys had great careers, but you don't have to have a great career to do what I'm talking about. You have to have a moment. Brandon Allen, when he scored on that 2-point conversion in the Ole Miss game after the Hunter Heave, when he impacted that guy with his helmet at the goal line and got just over the goal line to win that game, and he's knocked out. And Jason Carroll, who was shooting the game for us, runs out there and points the camera at him, and you can see his eyeballs going around in his head.
Yeah.
He's like standing over him. When people see that, that elevates you to that moment. Well, Devo, being emotional, because there was a connection there that was established, he gets it. This is what we feel. He feels what we feel. We love this guy. And that is one of those rare moments that they don't happen often enough, but it is one of those moments when I say to myself, this is why I still do this. Yeah. You don't get to do it. Live those moments a lot, and you go through all the baloney of this season, all this stuff where people are arguing about on social media, and you're having to argue back, and yet it makes it all worth it. It was a great moment. So that's really what it was all about, I think. Yeah. And I know what happened after he did all that boo-hooing and couldn't answer, because he went to another level, and he's going to stay there. 30 years from now, people are still going to remember him for that.
Oh, for sure. And then you even talk about after that moment, because our sister station, Fox 16 over in Little Rock, caught a moment between Musselman and Devo before they went into that press conference, where Musselman went up and said, I love you, man. They had this moment, a really long hug. Yep. And I think it was just like, you know, I get it. I challenged you. Well, I get it. I understand.
when I
what
was
you've
in
been
the
through.
7th grade, there was this kid, Billy Bob, on our football team, and Coach Vanoy just chewed on him every day. Billy Bob was like, I'm going to quit. I don't like him. He hates me, blah, blah, blah. And one day I'm walking down the hallway in the junior high building, and I walk by Coach Vanoy, but he's got his back to me and he can't see, and he's talking to Mr. Pruitt, who was a general science teacher. And just as I walk by, Mr. Pruitt goes, what about Billy Bob? And he said, I'm going to make a hell of a player out of him someday.
Wow.
And I couldn't wait to go tell Billy Bob what he said. And his whole attitude changed. He was like, he said that about me? I said, he did. I heard it. And he became a really good player. This is this thing between coaches and players where you don't necessarily understand why they're jumping on you. But there's a reason for that. They don't do that if they don't think you can do it. They're challenging you because they think you've got it in you. And when that comes together like it did, woo.
And they're making you better people too at the end of the day.
Right.
You know,
That's
I think
powerful stuff.
Devo looked like he had grown up a few years in that interview.
Yep.
It looked like, I mean, I seriously think he has accepted this leadership role. I mean, even after he fouled out, they cut back to him on the bench and he's coaching with Muss. I mean, that was so awesome to see, and I think it was just a really special moment all around for Devo. Mousetown says, I get why Devo was crying after the Kansas game, but what was going on with Nick Smith Jr.? He was crying too, but why do I have the feeling that those weren't tears of joy?
Well, when he was interviewed, this was different. This wasn't on the telecast. This was some stuff that Alyssa sent us where she went into the locker room and some others went in there with cameras. And this was a very brief interview he did on camera. But here was what I went through, because I'm watching the Devo thing, and it's one of those moments, and you're going, wow. And I went from one of those moments to the one thing I hate about this job, absolutely hate, because I saw a kid that was broken. Here he is wanting so much to be a part of this, and he knows he didn't contribute, and he knows what's been happening to him. And it bothered me. I stayed up all night tossing and turning and thinking about that. I'd get my phone and I'd continue to read, because here's the thing. On a night when there were lots of positive posts on social media about, wow, you still had all this picking at him. We don't need him. We proved we don't need him. Picking at him. Now, let me just explain something to those that don't get it. And there are a lot of fans that get this and they're not part of this, but there is an element on social media that loves to do this sort of stuff. I don't know what's going on with them. I argued with one of them all day. Was it Sunday?
Sunday,
I'm not sure. But here's the thing. This is the difference between Nick Smith Jr. and Devo. Devo was a 4-star. He was allowed to come in here and just do his own thing. He wasn't going anywhere. He was going to be here for 3 years at least, maybe 4. And he'd make mistakes, and he was allowed to make mistakes. Now let's go to Nick Smith Jr. This kid, maybe since junior high, has been it. Everywhere he goes. You ever been to an AAU tournament? Watch these kids file into a gymnasium. They're like rock stars. All these people are standing out. Whoa, look, there's Nick Smith Jr.
And they're taking photos of you, and they're asking for your autograph, and
And so that's what he's living. He's being told how good he is.
All the time.
And he's going to do this, and he's going to do that. And he's an in-state kid. He's from Jacksonville. And he goes to North Little Rock High. And he, at the appropriate moment, he comes to Arkansas. He makes that a decision. Now, he knows he's a one and done. Everybody's told him that. His agents told him that. You're a one and done.
It's all over any NBA mock draft.
Yeah, you're the number 2 or number 3 highest rated player that Arkansas has ever recruited in basketball and landed. You're that, and you stayed at home because you're an in-state kid and you're a Razorback, and in your mind you're like, okay, yeah, I've got all this stuff ahead of me in a year. But right now, I want to do this. This is going to be really cool. I'm going to get to be part of the Razorbacks, and we're going to do some things. And everybody's saying we're going to win a national championship. Went to 2 Elite Eights. We're going to win a national championship. And he comes here under those circumstances, and right off the bat, they go to Europe, and he's got this knee problem, and he's Some games he's playing well, then he has to sit out and comes back and plays well a little bit in early December, and then he's gone. And everybody's like, what happened? And he's gone for a long time. And it's like, okay, he didn't care. Yeah, his agent did this. Yeah, it's all about money. He's not coming back. He's not coming back. To the point where there he is all the way out in California, but he knows this, and he calls in on a radio station in Little Rock and says, hey, I don't know where people are getting this. I'm coming back. I'm undergoing treatment out here, but when I'm cleared, I'm coming back. No, he's not coming back. People kept saying.
Well, his dad said that on the Little Rock station. His dad was like, he's coming back, guys. It's all right.
Yeah, his dad's the one that said that, but then he said that.
Yeah, oh, yeah. He was on social media and all over the place.
I think he told somebody on, I remember who was it?
It might have been on social media.
No, I think it was a TV guy he told that too. Anyway, he said it himself too.
Okay.
So, and he does. He comes back. Okay, and he comes back at a time when Arkansas is on a roll. I think they'd won 4 or 5 or something like that, 4 or 5 games, and they'd just beaten Kentucky badly in Rupp, and everybody's like, wow, this team has found itself. And he comes back, and what happens in his first game? They lose to Mississippi State, and he scores like 4 or 5 points, and people are like, you ruined the chemistry of our team. Now, what's it like? Ask yourself to read that. And no, he shouldn't read it, but kids do that. And he's reading that, and this is his team that he's always wanted to play for. These are his fans, the fans that he grew up around, and they are saying this stuff to him. That's like a punch in the gut. This is like being told by your parents that you stink. You know, people you've been around your whole life. I'm Arkansas, and they hate me. Now, it's a small part of these people, but it's happening. But he goes down to College Station. Muss doesn't play him hardly at all. 4 minutes, he doesn't score. And they still get beat. And people are saying, see, Muss realized he made a mistake, didn't play him, they still lost. It's too late. He's ruined the chemistry. That's what everybody's saying. So what does he do then? He goes on a 6-game stretch where he averages 19 points a game. And you know what they're doing? Because they lost 4 of those 6, they're still saying it's his fault. Arkansas loses a close game to Alabama. He scores 26 points. And I'm reading on social media it was his fault that they lost. I'm like, what, should he have scored 40? Now ask yourself, what is he thinking? Wow, they're still mad at me. Maybe I need to do more. And so I think what happened is he saw this NCAA tournament as a whole different deal. He knows how important that is. I'm going to go to another level on this. This is how I'm going to, but what's going through his head? Well, man, I can't score 15. I can't score 18. I got to do like 30 or something. Or they're still going to be blaming me. And he pushed himself too much. And he's scored 4 points in 2 games. Now, imagine what you're going through now, because your team just won and you're happy and you're glad for them. But they're here and you're back there in the corner in that locker room and you're hurting. I had a guy tell me, and I put this up, and he said, I don't feel sorry for him. He's acting like a baby. He needs to grow up. There are guys his age going off and fighting in wars and stuff. He's a baby.
Whoa, okay.
See, this is the kind of stuff you're dealing with. And I'm thinking to myself, what is wrong with you? I mean, I've seen people go into great detail about what he allegedly did. His dad did this, and he went out, and his agent said, and I'm thinking, you act like you're in his family, like you were standing next to him the whole time he was gone. You know exactly everything he did, and you don't. You know what you're doing? You're repeating rumors. I saw this Mitch Mustang go through this whole thing 15 years ago. Number 2 player in the nation from Springdale, Arkansas. And by the time he left here, they had taken him and put so much baloney rumors on the internet and recreated stuff that never happened. And he's having to sit there and look at that and go, that didn't do that. That never happened. What's going on here? What's it like to be a Hog fan and want to help your team win, and pow, right in the gut? So that's why I didn't sleep, because I knew what he was going through. I'd seen it happen to other guys. Those are just 2 examples. I'm telling you, I owe Marcus Monk an apology. Marcus Monk was Malik Monk's older brother, played for Arkansas when Mustang was here. And when Marcus came along and he was a one and done, everybody knew he was going to be a one and done, and a lot of people thought he was coming to Arkansas. Marcus had, I think, been a grad assistant over with Hog basketball, and everybody thought, okay, he's coming. And then in the early signing period, Marcus announced on the internet, Malik's going to Kentucky, and everybody got mad. And I told him, I said, you did what was best for you, because he's going to make more money, you think, doing that. And he got really mad at me. We got into it over it. And I owe him an apology because I think he knew what he was doing. I think he knew that if his brother, who grew up in this state and was a Razorback fan, came here as a one and done and didn't deliver, he would be crucified.
Yeah.
Now you go to Kentucky. You didn't grow up in Kentucky. Those aren't your people.
No.
That's a job. That's why he said it's a business. It's a business decision. So here's what I'm saying to the few of you that are doing this. You know what you are? You're a walking, talking billboard for, if you're a 5-star in this state, leave the state. Go somewhere else. Play somewhere else. Because if you stay here and you don't do what we want, what we think you should do, we're coming after you. This is why a lot of times we talk about guys that leave Arkansas. This happens everywhere. Kids leave Texas, kids leave Florida, and a lot of times that's why they do it. Because they know if they go to their in-state school, they're going to be under so much pressure and so much scrutiny. It's a lot easier to go where people don't have these expectations for you.
Well, it's also different for Arkansas, too, a little bit. As someone who grew up in Florida, you have so many different D1 programs there, like Miami, Florida, Florida State, UCF now. You have so many different programs. Even if you go to Florida and you're maybe a Miami kid, there's not a lot of pressure to still perform that well, since you could have gone to Miami, you could have gone to Florida State. Arkansas being the only program in the state, it's treated like a professional team. And I think sometimes the fans treat it a little too much.
Some of them do.
Some of them treat these players like pro players when they're still kids at the end of the day. They're coming here and they want to do the best. Nick Smith Jr., when I interviewed him at the beginning of the season, what was his biggest answer to me when I asked him, "Oh, you're the man on campus. You're the thing." I don't care about that. I just want to help this team win.
Yeah.
That's what he answered.
If he were what some of these people say he was, they just wanted the money, didn't really care, why would he be upset?
No, he wouldn't be.
He's 1 or 2, 3 or 4, however many games left, then he's on. He's off to the pros.
Yeah, he wouldn't.
He's going to get his millions, whatever. Why would he care? Why was he back there? While everybody else is celebrating, he's back there by himself. Why? Because he thought, I have let this team down, and I'm not what I was supposed to be, and the fans of this state don't like me. Oh, that's pitiful. It bothers me.
Yeah, when we looked at that interview together on social media, I was so upset.
Whoa! You could just see it in his answer and everything.
When he was asked about his emotions, he even said, "You don't know." He started, "You don't know how tough," and then he broke down, and you could see the pain. And it just, it hurts. So
think about that the next time you decide to go on Facebook or Twitter and talk about how, because I think the cruelest cut of all is when you say he's not. I've seen him. He shouldn't be a lottery pick. He's not an NBA sure thing. You go to the G League. When you start questioning his talent and his ability, you're popping him right in the gut.
And here's the thing with these internet people who say those comments, I'd like to see you do any better. I'd like to bring you to the court and see how many threes you can make in a 1-minute period. If these people can prove that, then sure, then you have an ability to question somebody else's talent. Anyways.
It's time to move on.
But
that was difficult.
Yeah, for sure, Mike. Razor Alex 88 says, "Oh my goodness, I love this. Sweet 16 bound." To answer a question I had a couple of weeks back when I had shamefully pressed the panic button. Shame on me. Hopefully next season I will learn not to hit the panic button and just put faith in Muss and his guys.
This is what you like to see on the internet.
I love that.
Because here's somebody admitting, hey, I was a bozo. I was criticizing. I didn't think we could win. I apologize. I admit I was like that. I apologize. I'm never going to do it again, but of course I am. And then I'll apologize the next time I do it, because fans get over the top and they post stuff they shouldn't have, but they also come back and admit it, and they're sorry, and then they'll do it again, because this is what happens. But I love that post.
Yeah, me too. I love that as well. And kind of just the the fact that you can go back and admit you're wrong. A lot of fans can't do that, but it's nice to see someone who can. Pig's Feet says there seems to be some other fan bases on social media that take exception to Coach Musselman's exuberance and taking off his shirt. One even saying that he tries to make it all about himself. Wow. And that it doesn't seem to bother the players, our AD, or most Hog fans, including me. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I think it works because it's just Musselman. If this were some sort of fake thing, if you saw John Calipari doing this, if you saw Rick Pitino
Bruce Pearl took off his shirt.
But I didn't mention Bruce Pearl.
Okay.
There are some guys that it just works because that's what they are. Musselman did this before when he was at Nevada. I don't know how far back this goes. But he's done this. It's not fake. It shows how much he enjoys winning. This guy's, his emotions are out there. We see how mad he gets and how party pooper he is on his post-game Zooms when he gets on there and he's just like a kid that's had his candy taken away from him. He's all hanging down and mad. This guy's, his emotions are right out there for everybody to see, and so this is his happy emotion. So I think it works. Yeah. I think most fans love it. Like you said, his AD likes it. He's fine with it. I tell you who else likes it. Recruits like it.
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't you like it if you're a player thinking about going to play for a coach and you go, man, this guy's going to celebrate with me.
Yeah.
He's going to take his shirt off. We're all going to jump in there with the student section, have our picture taken the game. This is what it's all about. So it's a great recruiting tool. And then the TV people love it. They absolutely love it because it's weird and they like weird.
Because it's weird and it's fun.
It's like it's not everybody does that. So all of that is positive. Now, here's some fans of other teams that don't like this. Who cares? It's none of their business. So that's my response to that.
And some of those fans haven't watched Musselman prior to this game. Some of those people were like, why is he taking his shirt off? Well, he's done it before. Go back in the past and look at the memes of Musselman with his shirt off. It's his shtick. And
here's the other thing. He couldn't do that if he had a pot gut. And
he works out 7 days a week, Mike.
I mean, come on. The guy's in his 50s, late 50s,
in shape.
Right? Mid to late 50s, and he's like a flat belly.
Yeah, no, he's in shape for sure. I was pretty shocked to see it. I was like, wow, okay. But works out 7 days a week, so get you a coach that can do that. Marty Bird's Proxy says Coach Muss is reaching out to multiple players in the portal per the new norm. Can you give some insight about how the process works? Does it differ at all from high school recruiting regarding official and unofficial visits, Mike?
They're pretty similar. There are some minor differences. Different signing dates for portal guys than high school guys. There's a new signing period in December now for high school guys, and then the traditional one in early February. I can't remember. I think there's one signing period for transfers that are going to play fall sports, and another ones that are going to play winter spring sports. And I think it's something like May in one and August in the other, or something like that. So there's different signing periods where you have to sign at this point, or you have to wait. Each of them get one official visit. If you're a portal guy or a high school guy or a female athlete, you get one official visit that's paid for by the school. You can visit as many times as you want on your own dime, except that, and here's an exception, with high school guys there's a dead period, and you can't do that during a dead period. There's not dead periods, I don't think, with portal guys. I do know that the other day there was a dead period. Otis told me this. There was a dead period where they could not bring in any high school guys, and they used that to bring in portal guys, so it helps the coaches. So there's that. The one big difference is the basic rule difference, which is there's no restrictions on reaching out and contacting a high school kid, because you can go all the way back to junior high if you want to. There's nothing that says, hey, you can't contact this kid until this point. He has to be this age. There has to be a certain time. There's no restrictions on that. Now, I say contact, you can't go visit, but there are ways you can let them know we're looking at you, we're interested. So you don't have any restrictions. Portal, there's a basic restriction. They have to be in the portal. You can't just go, hey, we like this guy. He'd be good for us. Let's go talk to him. Let's make contact. Except that this is the most violated rule, other than the similar rule on NIL, which you're not supposed to be able to contact a recruit about NIL money until after they've signed. Those two rules are the most violated rules in the NCAA. Portal violations. You're in there talking to a guy that's not in the portal, so then he gets in the portal so he can go to your place. Hey, and it's a combination because you can offer, some of these guys, schools are offering them NIL deals.
Yeah, and they're having their NIL collectives do it for them.
Sure.
You know, they're having those people contact
that
them.
rule is there, and the NCAA should do a better job of investigating it, because you're not supposed to be able to make contact with anyone of a transfer nature until they're in the portal.
Yeah.
And with a high school kid, there's no restriction. You can contact them at any point you want.
Yeah, they really need to crack down on that, because there's a lot that is going on right now with NIL and breaking those rules. So we'll see if that ever happens. Mike, I know how you feel about the NCAA. At Tim Couchdad says, he asked both me and Mike this on social media, there have been 3 15 seeds making it to the Sweet 16 the last 2 years. This has rarely happened before. Do you think this is due to the transfer portal and NIL? I think it's great for the game and the tournament.
I think it's probably more due to the portal than NIL, although I think NIL plays a part in it because those two are tied. NIL is now tied to the portal. So, yeah, I think there's something to that.
Yeah.
And I also think that if it is, and it creates more upsets, that's that's great. I love upsets. I love the unpredictability of the NCAA tournament. They're in this argument that a lot of people have made about not expanding for the football playoffs, which thankfully that's gone the wayside now, and we are about to get an expansion. But the argument a lot of these people used against it was, well, there's not going to be any upsets in football. You know, we've got maybe 4 teams every year that could possibly win it. In some years, it's just not. It's going to be one team, and you know it all along. It's going to be Alabama, or it's going to be Georgia. And they don't think that adding teams will create upsets. They're out of their minds.
Yeah.
The more teams you throw, now look, football is different from basketball. It's a more physical sport. There are more people involved.
Yeah, and there's roster differences, more on the football roster.
It's not 13 people on scholarship. It's like 85. and you're playing, you know, probably you throw in special teams, probably 30, 35 guys in a game, and you're playing, Musselman's playing 6 and 7 guys. So there's a difference for basketball and football in that fewer people can make a difference. So I understand that you're not going to get the number of upsets in a football playoff that you get in basketball, but you're still going to get it.
Oh, yeah.
It's still going to happen.
Oh, it's going to be fun.
And I love it. I I didn't like the old, I go all the way back to when it got picked by, you just get guys at Associated Press and whatever, the United Press International, they each had their poll and they just voted national champion, and that was the national champion. Now, I hated that. People voting on that?
Ew.
Get lost.
Yeah.
So then they created the situation where you took the top 2 teams and they played each other. And for about 7 or 8, 9 years or whatever, they were still voting, you know, but they had criteria. The selection committee popped up, and so we're going to select this team, and they played for a national championship. I hated that. It was 2 teams. I'm better than the other system, but let's go to 4. And they went to 4, and as soon as they went to 4, let's go to 8. Well, they jump into 8 and go into 12, which is good.
Let's do it.
I like 16.
Yeah, me too. I do as well.
I like 16, and honestly, I'd take 32 because the lower division football championship has done 32 all along. And they say you can't do that. Yes, they do it. I don't understand why you can have all of these teams in Texas. Do you understand in Texas how many teams are involved in the playoffs every year? It goes on forever, and there's tons of teams, and they somehow make it work. I would love to see. I think playoff games trump regular season games any day of the week.
Always.
I mean, are you kidding me? Was there any regular season game that had anything like the impact that Kansas game had?
No way.
So why don't we want more playoff games?
We want more playoff games, Mike.
And then people say, because it makes the regular season irrelevant. Well, it doesn't.
No, because to get into the playoffs, you have to have a good regular season.
And you got to do something while the regular season's going along, so it's fun.
Yeah.
But the big cheese
is
at the end. It's the playoffs. So, yeah, I love the playoffs, and I want to see more playoffs in football. We were going to 12, go to 16, go to 32.
Yeah, to go back to Tim Couchdad's question, though, I do think there is something to be said that we're still seeing the effects of COVID-19 and the extra year that players got, because that affected my brother, still is affecting players in D2 right now.
What are we going to do when that goes away? Because how?
Well, it does go away, but we're still seeing this tournament is still affected by that.
We've got to get, 5 years away from COVID? The year that they 2000 was when they restricted.
2020.
2020 was when that happened.
Yes.
So it theoretically should go to 2025.
Yes.
That should be the last year.
Correct. But we're still seeing the effects of it. So what happened, for everyone who, kind of wants to know, because basketball rosters, like we just talked about, way less people on scholarship than football and way less people on scholarship than baseball, you have these scholarships, and if you have a guy that's like, oh, I'm going to take my COVID year, well, if he was on scholarship, that's one of your scholarships taken up. And so what you saw was coaches at D1 programs saying to kids with D1 talent coming out of high school, we don't have enough money for you. We don't have, and they're going, well, see, I'll go to somewhere else. And you're seeing them go to places like FDU. You're seeing them go to places like
players
FAU.
they would never had before.
Exactly. You're seeing them go to places like Maryland, FAU, FDU, places that, you wouldn't normally see them go, but they've gone because they want playing time. So that's what we saw with this year's tournament, kind of just a unique situation where you still have some of that leftover, those leftover guys.
All those years without a 16 ever beating a 1, and then we had one about 3-4 years ago, and now we've had another one.
Yeah, now we've had another one. But I think some of the effect is still there from that COVID-19 extra year. So we'll see how it happens when it's over in, 2025? So that'll be exciting. Lanny says, I haven't seen as much coverage of spring football this season. Some are telling me there are more media restrictions. Are y'all mad at Muss or mad at Pittman?
Yeah,
Is that supposed to be Pittman?
Yeah, it must be Pittman.
Are y'all mad at Pittman? I hope not. He's my guy with his hot Springs
Pittman.
connection. Yeah.
No, they're not mad. I don't know. I'm talking to people. They're not walking around mad. I think anybody in the media knows that you deal with whatever coach you have. I mean, I've done this so many times. Every time a new coach comes in, there are new rules. Sometimes they're easier to work with, sometimes they're not. I think one of the things that's a little bit kind of puzzling to us who dealt with Muss when he was assistant coach, because he used to come in after practice and he'd take his shoes off and his socks off and he'd just sit there in a chair and we'd all sit around and talk, and he was like, boy, this guy's great. And obviously as the head coach, he's not that approachable, which is understandable. I think we understand what's going on here. It's Nick Saban passes this on to Kirby Smart, who passes this on to Sam Pittman. This is the way we do things. We restrict media coverage. Is it more this year? I don't know. I can't keep up with all these restrictions. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I have a hard time remembering what was going on last year at this point.
Mike, me too.
Here's the thing about that, though, because I was talking to a guy in the media about this, and this is very revealing. And we like to think of ourselves as professionals, but I can tell you, and this is just my impression, but it was my impression when Jack Crow was here. He was a terrific guy. We all loved him. He was so easy to work with. I think we probably gave him a break because he wasn't winning and everybody was mad, and I think the media gave him a pass for a long time just because of that. We probably didn't know we were doing it, but it happened. And I absolutely know it went on with Danny Ford and Brett Bielema. Now, I'm going to give myself a little bit of a pass on that because in my case, I knew both of those guys had won big. Danny Ford had won a national championship at Clemson. Brett Bielema had all these bold wins at Wisconsin. So I kept thinking, okay, they're eventually going to get it together. And so I would kind of backed off a little bit, but then once I realized, no, it's not going to happen, then you go do your job. But some people are saying that, I had a guy tell me this, he said, okay, Sam can do whatever he wants, but he better, if he believes in Kirby Smart and the Kirby Smart system. He needs to win like Kirby Smart. And if he doesn't, then we're going to hold him to that standard anyway. Now, I don't know that everybody's doing that. But these are things that fans don't care about, honestly. They don't care what the media restrictions are. And I don't think people are sitting around and going, I haven't seen anything about spring football. It's not the most pressing thing in the world with all this basketball going on right now. So
yeah, I think you have to.
But I don't really think anybody's mad.
Yeah, no. The other day we were supposed to get football availability, right? And it was like last Thursday, I believe it was, because the game was on, Illinois game was on Thursday, right? So last Thursday we were supposed to get media availability, and you know, they emailed out that, hey, because of basketball, we get it. You guys can't hop on a Zoom with the football players this afternoon, so we're going to cancel media availability. We're going to work things around. But that wasn't because they weren't trying to give it to us. That was because there were so many other things going on, especially with March Madness. So I think there's some truth to, not that they don't like us or that we don't like them. It's just there's a lot going on at this time in the season. Hot Dogger wants to know, have you ever seen a season like we've had where injuries for key players in football, basketball, and baseball happen right as the season starts? Is there a curse on Hog Sports? I've seen this all over social media.
They used to call it the curse of Nolan, some fans.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was after Nolan got fired, and every time something went wrong, it was the curse of Nolan. Because we were mean to Nolan, well, now we're suffering.
And Nolan put that curse on the program.
Well, he didn't, but it just did itself, supposedly. That was all nonsense. No, there's no curse. Injuries do happen. Honestly, I don't remember a year in which all three major sports were affected like this. But let's go back to football, because they had all those injuries in the secondary, and I made this point before. By the end of the year, that had been solved. That secondary got a lot better. If it didn't, they wouldn't have beaten Ole Miss. And they could have beaten LSU if K.J. Jefferson had played in that game. So the secondary problems got corrected. Jefferson came back, was able to play in a bowl game, and they won the bowl game. So they had those injuries, but they also solved the injury problem. Now basketball, two big injuries. You can't do anything about the injury to Kevin Brazile, but Nick Smith Jr. has come back. And we've just detailed it's not as easy as that, but that problem has been solved. And I'm telling you, you can sit around and talk about all these injuries, those two injuries in particular, but here's a team that's in the Sweet 16. So there's a lot of teams that didn't have those injuries that didn't make it. So I think that they overcame those injuries. And then baseball, it looked bleak a few weeks ago. The pitching staff was pitiful. I'm like, hey, who do they have? They got about 3 guys. Well, in the last 2-3 weeks, 3 or 4 other guys have stepped up. Adcock just came out of nowhere and pitched fabulous
on Sunday
against Auburn. So they just went through a series with Auburn in which they swept Auburn. Arkansas is now in the lead in the West.
Woo woo.
And they gave up 5 runs in 3 games. That's less than an ERA of under 2 in those 3 games. And that's your pitching that was supposed to be such a problem. So baseball is overcome. So yep, a lot of injuries, not having the kind of impact maybe certainly in baseball that people worried about yet.
Yeah, it's kind of
still
funny.
Happen, but
it's kind of funny because Arkansas, swept Auburn, but Tennessee got swept.
Oh, and Vitello, little Tony got upset. He got pitched out of the game again.
Yeah, he got tossed. He was upset, Mikey. He was upset.
Those Tennessee fans have got to be upset.
Yeah, they dropped in the rankings. They dropped out of the top 10.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Arkansas rose in the rankings, though.
Oh, Vitello's going to have to get more mad.
Yeah, no, Arkansas.
He's going to have to throw more fit.
He might have to throw more.
Lost to Missouri. Missouri's a real surprise team so far.
Missouri is. We saw them in the College Baseball Showdown. I thought they impressed me in the College Baseball Showdown.
And they have no facilities. The worst facilities in the league.
Yeah, I know, but they're... Hey, maybe
but it's Missouri. We don't like Missouri.
Yeah, get out of there. I'm just happy that Dave Van Horn is figuring out those pitching issues. And our final question of the show today is going to be from Hog Redneck on Hogville. I saw where Juracek announced some proposed renovations for Bud Walton Arena with illustrations of what they might look like. So much for the rumor that you kept shooting down, Mike, the one where Juracek was supposed to be going for an entirely new arena at the fairgrounds. How did you know?
How did I know? Because the original rumor about the fairgrounds and a new arena was totally stupid. I don't know who came up with that rumor, but it was the dumbest rumor I've heard, and I don't know when. Anybody with a brain knows Juracek wasn't going to do that.
Yeah.
it was interesting to finally get kind of a peek at maybe what he's thinking, because these aren't proposals written in stone. Remember how I've talked about, I don't think they should take seats away, and I knew they were going to, because they got to add luxury seating. They need money, they got money issues, all these schools have money issues. You got to figure out a way to make more money, so they're going to add more luxury seating in front of the skyboxes and create some kind of area underneath there, a club seating entertainment area like they have downstairs for those people that sit courtside.
And expand the student section, right, too?
And so what they're going to do, though, by doing this, is they're going to lose a couple thousand seats. I don't like that. I wish they wouldn't do it. But getting it down to 17,000 a lot better than taking it down to 15. So maybe that's a compromise. Now, the one thing he talked about, and it was in the diagram that you mentioned, is an expanded student section. And that's great.
Oh, it looks awesome.
Because that, if you ever looked at the Jungle in Auburn, Auburn's like 10,000 seats, but that's a Nutsville place because those students are all around the court.
Yeah, they're all up next to the court.
Yeah.
It's so loud.
So if you do a version of that in Bud Walton, it's going to make it, even though you lose 2,000 seats, you're going to make it worse for the, it's going to be unbelievable. Here's the problem. What are you going to do with those people that are sitting there now? You got people in those areas that have sat there forever. You're going to tell them, like you did baseball, okay, now you got to move over here. Yeah, I don't know. And I'm not saying he's going to do this. These are proposals. He may end up not doing any of that stuff. I don't know. But
he might be getting some interaction by putting them out there on social media and getting them out there. Might be seeing how people react, and if they like it, then.
I didn't see anything about improving the concourse. I think they need to do that.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think we talked about that a couple weeks ago when we brought up the rumors. That would be a really nice renovation.
Widen it, make it, and put glass around there instead of that brick where you're walking around on the concourse. You can see outside, see at night, see during, especially at night games. That would be great. Walk around and see all over campus.
Oh, I would love that. Well, that's going to do it for this week's Ask Mike. We'll see you next Monday to answer more of your questions.